This episode is presented to you in the form of an audiobook. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible? Like no one noticed you, no one cared what you had to say, and no one was drawn to your presence? You watch as certain people command attention effortlessly. People lean in when they speak. Their stories captivate. Their energy is magnetic. And you wonder, what do they have that I don't? Here's the truth. Being interesting is not about luck, wealth, or natural charisma. It's a skill that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. And today, I'm going to reveal the secret formula that will make you the most fascinating person in any room, no matter where you go. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been stuck in a conversation that felt dead? The kind where you're just nodding, waiting for an escape? That's because most people communicate on autopilot. They ask the same boring questions, give predictable responses, and never create moments that spark curiosity. But here's the game changer. Interesting people don't just talk. They make others feel something. They ignite emotions, excitement, curiosity, suspense. Their words pull people in like a magnet. And the secret to doing that? The art of contrast. Let's break this down. The human brain is wired to notice contrast. Light versus dark, fast versus slow, ordinary versus extraordinary. The same principle applies to conversations. Instead of answering a question like everyone else, add contrast. Imagine someone asks, "How was your day?" A boring response. "Good, nothing special." But an interesting response? "It started out as a disaster. Spilled coffee, lost my keys. But then I had the most unexpected conversation that changed my entire perspective on life." See the difference? One response fades into the background. The other creates intrigue. The rule is simple. If people expect one thing, give them the opposite. If they expect a normal answer, give them an unexpected twist. But let's take it further. The fastest way to be interesting is to be unpredictable. Think about the people who truly hold your attention. They don't follow a script. They break patterns. They tell stories that make you lean in. That's why the best storytellers start with something unusual. Something that makes people ask, "Wait, what happens next?" Because the moment you create curiosity, you own the conversation. You make people crave more. But here's the problem. Most people kill their own interestingness without even realizing it. How? By seeking approval instead of sparking curiosity. They filter their words, afraid of saying the wrong thing. They try too hard to impress, which ironically makes them less interesting. Here's the brutal truth. The people we find the most interesting are not the ones who try to fit in. They are the ones who own their uniqueness. They have strong opinions. They take risks in conversations. They share stories that others might not dare to tell. So here's your first challenge. Stop worrying about sounding smart, funny, or impressive. Instead, ask yourself, how can I make this conversation different? How can I say something that no one else would say? How can I tell a story in a way that makes people lean in instead of tune out? When you start thinking this way, you instantly separate yourself from 99% of people. But we're just getting started. There's another secret, one that takes this to a whole new level. It's the difference between being interesting for a moment and being unforgettable. And I'll reveal it in the next minute. Now that you know how to spark curiosity and break patterns in conversation, let's take things even further. Because here's the thing. Being interesting isn't just about words. It's about presence. You can say the most fascinating things, but if your energy is off, if you don't command the space around you, people won't care. The most interesting people in the room don't just talk, they own the moment. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who doesn't say much, but when they do, everyone listens? That's because they understand the power of timing and delivery. They don't rush. They let silence build anticipation. They use pauses like a conductor leading an orchestra, making every word hit harder. This is what makes people lean in. The secret? Speak 10% slower than you normally would. Most people rush their words because they're nervous. But when you slow down, When you let your words breathe, it signals confidence. It forces people to hang on to every word you say. But let's talk about the second element of presence, your body language. Because here's something most people don't realize. Before you even say a word, people have already decided whether you're interesting or forgettable, and it all comes down to how you hold yourself. Interesting people own their space. They don't shrink, they don't fidget. They take up room, move with intention, and use gestures that reinforce their words. When they enter a conversation, they don't nervously look around. They lock eyes, they stay present, and they make you feel like you're the only person in the world. And here's a secret that will change how you interact with people forever. Make people feel deeply seen. The most interesting person in the room isn't the one who talks the most. It's the one who makes others feel the most important. Want to be unforgettable? Master the art of deep listening. Most people aren't really listening, they're just waiting for their turn to talk. But when you give someone your full attention, when you make them feel like their words truly matter, you create a moment they'll never forget. They'll leave that conversation thinking, wow, that was different. That person actually listened to me. And guess what? That makes you infinitely more interesting. So here's your final challenge. The next time you walk into a room, don't just focus on what you say. Focus on how you make people feel. Be unpredictable. Spark curiosity. Slow down your words. Own your space. And most importantly, make people feel seen. Because the truth is, being the most interesting person in the room isn't about impressing people. It's about creating moments that they'll never forget. And when you do that, you don't just become interesting, you become magnetic.